Whiskey friends, far and wide, we are live. What's up, y'all? Happy Saturday. For folks in America, hope you are enjoying your Thanksgiving Day weekend. For everybody else, hope you're having a nice weekend as well. What's up, y'all? I'm Eric, your humble malt muser, beaming the whiskey tube signal from the second city of America, Chicago, Illinois, Goose Island, Bourbon County Stout release weekend city. If you've had a chance to get yours, I hope so. If you're into such things, if not, keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully they'll be showing up in stores. I was lucky enough to win one of the raffles at Binny's to get my hands on the classic release of the Bourbon County Stout. I've had one tonight, and my God, is it delicious. Of the original batch of these. So cool to jump on tonight. I got a couple things lined up for a live show tonight. The first thing we're going to do, I was generously given a sample pack of 4 whiskey samples from a place called Blind Barrels. We're going to get into that first. I'm going to test these 4 samples out, talk a little bit about this whiskey product and subscription program that you can be part of, and we'll see if it's worth the money. And then after that, let's taste some Ardbeg Hypernova, the peatiest Ardbeg. How excited are you? Okay. We got 5 folks in already. What is up? How's it going, everybody? Happy Saturday. First in the door, it's our good friend Marty at Whiskey Knows. What's up, man? How you doing, Marty? Good to see you. Lighting K. Hi, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Greg's Whiskey Guide, joining us all the way from Paris. Greg, how are you, sir? Hope you and yours are well. Sun Valley, Arizona is in the house. Yo, how you doing, buddy? Hope you had a nice holiday. Indeed. That is definitely the plan here. So the first thing that I want to do is talk to you guys a little bit about these 4 samples that I'm going to do. Blind samples, that is. So first of all, just a little bit about Blind Barrels. So Blind Barrels has been around, looks like, since 2021. And they're basically a subscription service. If you've ever subscribed to something like Hot Sauce, where you can get stuff sent to you on a semi-regular or regular basis, it looks like that's what they're doing here. There are a couple different subscription options. You can have samples sent to you quarterly. It looks like you can also do an annual subscription where you pay up front and then you get stuff shipped March, June, September, December. Prices seem okay. Quarterly delivery is $59.99 right now on their special, and you can get $200 for the annual. So it's like $50 for a sample box. And what does the sample box look like? Well, first of all, this is what it looks like. That is their logo. You open it up, it's a pretty nice presentation. You can kind of see here. Cool box. They gave me a little letter inside of it that talks a bit about their stuff here and kind of, American small business. Everything's done blind. They've been doing this for about 18 months. They test their own stuff before they send it, it looks like. They aim for diversity in mash bill and proof level and only the best American craft whiskey. So you can get bourbon or malt whiskey. I believe in the email he said he sent me some of the malt whiskey. And they do point to the fact that it's something that you can't really find in stores, they say. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so more on the presentation here. You get another card. This is pretty interesting. They show you a bit about how to start your journey. They have a tasting table here, right on the back. So it kind of teaches you how to taste whiskey if you are not somebody that, quite frankly, has much experience with it. So really cool, handy card. I did take a good look at it. And to me, I think it covers pretty much exactly what you would normally try to present to somebody who's just trying to taste whiskey the way you want to think about tasting it. They have a lot of different categories on here and suggestions on what the flavors that you might pick up are. At the end, there's a QR code, as you can see right here, which you scan and then it reveals to you the whiskey. So kind of a cool way to do this. And this is how they arrive. So pretty nice size, right? I mean, for the price, you're getting, it looks like a decent amount of whiskey in these. And they're labeled A, B, C, and D. I mean, that's one sample. So it looks pretty cool. It doesn't tell you anything on here. So again, it's completely blind. And what I'm going to do, I got 4 Glencairn glasses lined up right here. I'm going to pour all 4 of these into these glasses. And we're going to take these one by one. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to taste them, share my thoughts, give you the idea of kind of what I'm tasting and whether I think it's a good whiskey. I mean, I'll kind of look for age, talk about profile, and, you know, we'll even maybe take a look at this card and then I'll share what they are. It is unlikely that I'm going to be able to guess what these are, but the goal here is really to decide, you know, is this something that's worth, you know, the money? Is this something that would be really good for a new whiskey drinker in your life? Who's just getting into it? Is this the kind of thing that you want to start them with? Or, you know, maybe even something for yourself? Or is this kind of just, you know, one of these types of things where, you know, you pay a decent amount of money, but you're not really getting the value? So we're gonna talk about all that here. I am pouring out all 4 samples. I'm doing about half of the bottle in each glass. So again, don't know the ABV, don't know the aging, don't know anything about these whiskeys. So I can tell you right now, just again, they're not paying me to say anything. I'm just telling you my thoughts. I'm pretty intrigued by this process. I think it's a cool way to, from the get-go, teach somebody how to drink whiskey and taste whiskey. Because as you guys know as well as I do, you know, you get a preconceived notion of what a whiskey may or may not taste like, kind of based on the brand, the presentation, all of that. This is really removing that all from the equation. So kind of a cool thing. And it looks like these were all put into the samples on September 22nd. So these are pretty fresh, which is cool. Well, it does actually label on the back. Now, hang on just one second. So it does actually have the ABV on the back. These are all 50 ml bottles. Let me just see if this is all the same or what. Okay, so it does have the ABV in small print on the back. We'll save that for now. But again, you know, all in all, I got 4 samples here. They look pretty nice. This is what the box looks like. You can get these sent to you 4 times a year over at blindbarrels.com. And this is, again, that card that they give you with the nice tasting note spectrum thing on here. I really like this, and I like the fact that there's just a QR code on here, so there's no way you can really spoil this for yourself unless you scan it. Okay. So I don't know what these samples are. Again, I think when you get these, you just get it randomly. So it could be malt whiskey. It could be bourbon. I don't know. They did tell me something to the effect that this might be malt whiskey. But let me just say hi quick to some new folks in. We got 8 in, which is great. What's up, Brad Porter? Happy Thanksgiving, man. How are you? You too, man. You too. Yeah, definitely a decent amount. I mean, they're not skimping on it. Again, these are, you know, on the annual subscription thing, it looks like it's about these are about $50 a piece. So, you know, you're getting a decent amount of whiskey for that. Oh, very nice. Is that the new batch? That batch 2 just came out. I'm actually really, really excited to try that. I did just get my hands on a bottle myself, so that's pretty cool. I have had the first one too. We're going to be doing a video about this at some point, so keep an eye out. Yeah, blind sampling is the real deal. No prejudice and open to surprises, whiskey types and wines. Yeah, I completely agree with our good friend over there in Paris, Greg's Whiskey Guide. He nailed it. So I have a very baseline level here in my glass, Glenlivet 12-year-old. Or I'm sorry, Glenfiddich 12-year-old. This is just to get my palate set and ready. Okay. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go through A through D. I'll give my best nose, taste, finish notes. I'll talk a little bit about the age, if I think what the age might be on some of these, or if it's just young or older. It'll be hard to say. I'll give you my thoughts, the final thoughts on all four, which one I like the best, and then we will scan the QR code and see what these are. Again, this is all American craft whiskey, it appears, so we'll see what the U.S. has to offer in this realm. Okay, so here we go with the first one. This is let me actually, you know what? No, we'll leave the ABV aside. I'll just tell you what I think the ABV might be of this. That is a beautiful color. Now, if this is in the case of it being bourbon, bourbon is not allowed to have fake colorant added. So, but in this case, it's malt whiskey. I'm not quite sure the rules on it. Let's check out A. Ooh. Okay, so this one, style-wise, you get a lot of cereal grain up front. Now, according to their little note-taking thing here, goes from malt to barley, oat, rye, corn, wheat, baked goods. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely on the maltier side. And I almost want to say corn. This is reminding me a little bit of a Balcones, to be completely honest with you. Fresh, young, sweet. There's some oak barrel influence here. It is not striking me as anything sherry. I'm getting a little bit of light fruit. That's kind of your apple pear notes. Again, bit of a youthful, slightly vegetal note. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I think this is a bit of a younger whiskey, not really much in the way of alcohol on this. So the ABV could be really all over the place. I'm going to guess this is probably in your standard 43 to 46 range. All in all, pleasant nose, youthful, vibrant, but the cask influence is definitely there. That's rounding off any edges this might have. Let's give it a taste. Okay, this is A from Blind Barrels. Nice mouth coating. Oh, interesting. Ooh. Hey, this is pretty good. It can be American single malt. It's not. It doesn't say. I'm guessing this is not bourbon, though. I think that they gave me all single malt. Top Shelf Dustin. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, buddy? Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, man. Okay, so on this A batch, nice mouthfeel, young. I can tell that the whiskey is kind of young because you get that very distinct vegetal note. It's almost a little bit like, I liken it sometimes to minerality or concrete. It's kind of mineral, kind of youthful, sprightly. But as it develops, this cask really comes in. It's giving you a nice mouth coating of like light toffee, vanilla, caramel. Finish is quite nice. Get a little bit of pop, a little bit of heat in the spice. Then you get a nice swell of baked apple cinnamon, that kind of thing. I'm guessing this is a malt whiskey. This doesn't taste quite like a bourbon to me. Bourbon cask influence is what I'm going to say. ABV, I'm going to guess this is right in that kind of 46 range. Inoffensive when it comes to the ABV. The nose is probably the least interesting thing about this. It does kind of just smell like a new 2 to 3 year old spirit that you might get at a new American distillery that you're visiting. But I'll tell you that cask influence really, really brings a lot of nice flavor, honestly. I'm guessing it's a bourbon cask. I'm guessing it's probably 2 to 3 years old. And again, we after we're done, we scan the QR code to check it out. So all in all, really quite nice. Vegetal, sweet, light fruits, medium long finish. Can't complain. So A was a pretty good one. Okay, now we're going to move on to B. So this is B. Again, really nice color. A westward, says Greg. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. That one, it didn't strike me as a bourbon. It could be a Westland. It could be a westward. Now, some of the things on their website claim that some of these whiskeys are things you can't find in stores. And you can buy bottles of these on their site. Now, I don't know how widespread that is. I kind of waited to look at this because I don't want to, get too many ideas. So we'll come back to that later. But my guess is that this is not all stuff that you can't buy at a store. I'm guessing that you have to be able to find some of the stuff, at least from these distilleries. This is not all like specially bottled stuff for them, I wouldn't think. Okay, so again, this was A. This is B. Kind of similar color. Here we go with A, or with B. Ooh, wow. Very different nose. Rich berry forward. A lot of fruit. Again, slightly youthful. This one's got a little bit more spice, a little bit more, intensity on the nose. You're getting a little bit of alcohol notes, but I'll tell you, when you pull back a lot of rich berry, this strikes me as something that's probably like some type of wine cask finish, maybe. Or even, there's a whiskey that I had from like a blue, what is this stuff called? Like blackberry or blueberry. I can't remember it. Shelter Point has a whiskey that's kind of got a bourbon or a Top Chef Dustin says, today has been my drinking Bourbon County Stout Day. Lovely beers. Glad I focus on regular bottles over the special editions. Yeah, I got the classic release and had the the original. I had one bottle of the original today, and it's great. I did see some of this. The more expensive release that you could get in the lottery for here in Chicago had they had like an Old Fitzgerald aged one, and then there was like a barley wine. I didn't get that one. I got just the 6-pack. But I had the original today. It was really, really good. So I hope you're enjoying it too, man. Sounds like you are. Hey, Mike B out in Maryland. How you doing, buddy? So this one, again, it's a malt. I think it's a malt whiskey. A lot of nice juicy berry fruit in this. I almost think it could be a PX finished, but it also could just be something that's like a wine cask. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of one, I think. Anyway, here we go with B. Really oily too, by the way. So again, wow, that's nice. They give you a really, and I'll just say this, I mean, this is a really nice tasting note table. The fruit on this is huge. It's a little bit drying on the palate. It does give me a little bit of a PX type flavor, maybe even port. I get a lot of juicy berries, bit of vanilla fruit. Yeah, that's one of the ones that was in the release I got. I have not tried it yet, but the proprietor's batch this year has it's like toasted coconut, lime juice, and pineapple. It looks really interesting. Yeah, I I was able to. I won one of the classic releases in the raffle, and I swung by Benny's on Friday and picked it up. So I just tried one today. So it's been good so far. Back to this whiskey, medium long finish, really nice. Again, this has got a very fruit forward approach. On the back, there's some lingering toasted nuts like almond, slight vanilla, vanilla, like a berry cream kind of thing, berry yogurt type thing. Quite nice. So both of these so far, this one strikes me like it could be closer to a bourbon, but both of these so far, I'll say so far that they're not, they're not slouch whiskeys. I mean, these are both, while maybe young, well matured in good casks and interesting. And so again, the kind of goal here is both to judge this based on is this worth the price? Is this for somebody who's just getting into whiskey? Is this for somebody who's been drinking whiskey for a while and knows how to do tastings? I like the blind approach. I think both of these are interesting. I like A better, but I think B is a more quality whiskey. It's just because of the flavor profile. Mm-hmm. This definitely has a wine or PX influence. A bit more tannic drying on the palate. Yeah, Greg's Whiskey Guide, you nailed it. Yeah, I think that might be what we're looking at here. This is fun. There's a lot of influence. I'm almost curious if this is fully matured in almost like a wine cask or something. I get little hints of those kind of bourbon cask notes, but boy, really strong wine or sherry cask influence, and it's more wine to me. Okay, moving on to bottle C. Again, for folks who are just joining, these are pretty generous sized bottle samples that they give you. Again, these are around that $50 point for the annual subscription. I mean, 50 mil. They definitely give you the opportunity to really dig in and try some of these. So I do like that. Okay, so this is C. Darker still than B. I mean, this was B. That's C. I mean, this one is even a richer mahogany kind of note. We'll go back through and put water on all these, by the way. Okay, so blind barrel sample C on the nose. Ooh. Bit more oak charcoal. Almost slightly peaty. This one almost smells like there's a bit of peat. A lot more earthiness. I'm getting lemon, lime, citric notes. This is all over the place. I mean, so kudos to them so far on this, is that they're all very different so far. Citrus, lemon, lime, almost bold lemon. Slight earthiness, again, slightly vegetal. So again, probably pretty young. These are all American craft whiskeys, and for the most part, you're not going to find heavily aged American craft whiskeys these days. It's because they really haven't been big on the market that long. But I do detect a little bit of that youth. Again, it's not taking away here. Cherry, pomegranate. This is kind of nice. Maybe just a little peat. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Wow, this one's the best so far. Rich mouth coating, viscous. not savory necessarily, sweet spicy. This has got an incredibly rich mouthfeel, fruit forward. Again, this is leaning into that kind of blackberry, blueberry type territory. This isn't your standard sherry cask, darker red fruits. There is a little bit of that apple cinnamon note, which makes me think bourbon a little bit. So maybe this is an ex-bourbon again, maybe another wine cask. There's just a little bit of an effervescence on the palate to go with that citric note. Citrus is more tamed on the palate. I'm guessing it makes me think this is a little peated. Not smoky, but this gives me the impression there's a little bit of peat here. So, let's use their card just to take a look. So on this cereal, vegetal, woody, spicy, roasted, winey. So on the winey part, under malt, they categorize sweet wine, sherry, spirit, brandy. Under the more barley side of things, sweet wine, port, spirit, rum. Interesting. So this is giving me a little bit of the floral potpourri. Probably it goes from lavender, heather, orange blossom to rosé as you go from malt to barley. Under the fruitiness, there's stone fruit, pipe fruit, citrus, exotic, and dried fruit. And then under the citrus, it goes on the malt side, it's lemon. In the middle, it's orange. On the barley side, grapefruit. That's interesting. Okay. Also under the exotic part, banana mango, which is what I'm definitely picking up on this, and that's more on the malt side. So again, I think these are malty whiskeys for sure, malted barley. This one in particular, a lot of fruit. The citrus that I got on the nose is much more of a tropical fruit on the palate. Pineapple, a little bit of apple cinnamon, medium long finish. Again, really interesting stuff. I don't detect the youth as much on this one as I did on the others. And again, wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just a note, not the dominant note. I'm going to do one more sip of C here, and then we'll get to D. Mm-hmm. Boy, there's a creamy vanilla toffee thing that just kind of goes all the way through this. I am a big fan of C. I think for my favorite so far it goes CAB. But again, I think all are pretty quality, to be completely honest. Okay. Let's do D. Hey, Chris is in the house. Our good friend over in the Quad Cities in their side of Illinois. What's up, man? We got 12 in. How is everybody doing? Hope you're having a good Thanksgiving, Chris. Okay, on to Whiskey D. That's the color of D. A little bit lighter than C was, which is making me think this is going to have more of a bourbon cast, less of a sherry. Ooh, wow. A little bit of a new make note, which is, again, vegetal, mineral. There is a very nice tart fruit, like rhubarb, grape. Okay, this one is a bit more punchy, a bit sweeter, and a bit more spice. Maybe not sweeter than C, but more spicy for sure. A little more two-dimensional. But as I've noticed on some of these, and this is something I do tend to notice with a lot of younger whiskeys, which doesn't quite make sense to me, but that the nose doesn't always really match in many ways the palate. Now, that would make sense on older stuff. These, younger stuff, you'd think it's kind of just showing you what it's got, but not necessarily what's here. I also want to say that this one has an herbal note. It's almost like fresh parsley or dill or something, which maybe it's a rye. I don't know. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Full flavor bourbon cask. Apple cinnamon, caramel. This one's got the longest finish by far. Wow. Chocolate covered nuts. This one's a much more nutty barrel. Chocolate. Coffee. Like a amaretto, almost slightly amaretto note. Really long finish. Wow. Okay. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to go through and taste all of these in kind of a rapid fire succession with a couple drops of water. But first, I want to just, as I mentioned, I want to take stock of what we're doing here. So again, according to Blind Barrel's website, you can do a quarterly subscription, which recharges every 6 months. March, June, September, December is when you get these. It's $69.99. You can do $59.99 right now for Black Friday. Then they have the annual for $279.96 for prepaid quarterly deliveries, and deliveries are shipped in mid-March, June, September, December. Okay, so you get a little bit of a discount for $200. And then you get the immediate shipping of the latest one that they did. So you're looking at, anywhere in that $55 to $60 point of per sample box. So, whatever, dividing that by 4, what is that? Like $15, give or take, per 50 mil sample. Of the whiskeys that they have here, from a quality perspective, I think these are mostly by and large falling in a reasonable category for what they're asking for the money. I will praise the diversity of this. This is definitely a whiskey sample set, blind sample set, as I said, that I think does so far the job of appealing to folks, particularly who are just getting into whiskey. These are all very cask forward whiskeys. These are all very tamed in the sense that you're not getting a lot of alcohol burn. You're not getting a lot of heavy intensity. My guess is the ABV on these maximum is 46 to 48%. They are not giving you anything cask strength here, but it's also not totally low bar. It's very cask forward stuff. The whiskey is a little bit on the young side, but it's giving you a really interesting diversity. And along with this little tasting kit here, I think, honestly, I think it's a pretty cool thing for somebody who's just getting into whiskey or who's curious about developing their palate. I'm sure even some of us that have been whiskey heads for a while could stand to polish up on something like this. Not sure we would necessarily need a kit of this nature, but this is well done. I will give them that. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put water on all 4. We're going to do a quick tasting. I'll give you my final thoughts on all of this. I'll tell you if I think it's worth the money and for who. And then we will scan the QR code and get the reveal. If anybody wants more info on how this is done, I will just drop their link. Again, this was given to me for free. I'm not getting any money or anything like that for this. So that is the link for folks who want to bookmark that to check it out later. It talks a little bit more about what they do and how they do it. They do have a video here for it. So here we go. I'm going to do 3 drops of water on each of these. Again, so far my favorites are C, D, B, A. Little Glenmorangie pitcher here. 3 drops of water on each of these whiskeys. And then we're going to go through it and we'll see if they kind of stay together, if they get more interesting, or if they sort of fall apart. So we'll find out. We're going to start with D. Coming in back with D. Nose is about the same. Although I am getting a lot more butterscotch now with the addition of water. Butterscotch and butter toffee. Boy, D is really good. On the finish, you get this really nice swell, a very classic bourbon nose. This is a bourbon, I'm going to say D. It's a bourbon cask whiskey. A rich one, probably higher ABV. I'm going to guess this is close to 48%. Okay, back to C now. Just exploding with fruit flavor. Completely different. Completely different. Grape. Almond. Sweet, spice, slate, new make. Boy. This one's gotten even more rich. Still somewhat drying, but not as much on the back end. It seems it's bringing a bit more tropical fruit and dry red fruits forward. Wow, this one's really, really stepped up with water. Very nice. Really good dark cocoa note on the back end. Okay. We're going to do B and then A, and then we'll get to the final thoughts here. Interesting reviews. At this stage, do you think that they sort the set by age? You know, I can't tell. I do feel like A drank younger. But again, I mean, I think, you know, I think all of these whiskeys are relatively young. I wouldn't say any of these are over 5 or 6 years old. As far as the major difference maker here is more casks. It's more the casks. The casks are very different in the influence that they're having. The only one that I think might be a little bit older is D, to be totally honest with you. Which so far is my favorite. That's the only one that I'm not getting much of that new make note. And again, in all of these, the cask influence is really kind of working in tandem with the new make note. I don't think having a new make young whiskey is necessarily a bad thing. We are talking about something that's $50 to $60, you know, for every kit you get. So we want to hold it to a little bit of a high bar. But I think the cask influence here, these are all so far seem like well-made whiskeys. And they're better than most of the like new make. You go down to the, you know, downtown in your local city and there's like, you know, blah and blah's new distillery, and you go in and everything tastes really, really young, but it's got a little barrel influence. This is the opposite. It's like, instead of youth here, barrel influence here, it's kind of the other way. So it's definitely whiskeys that are picked that I think are picked for a reason to kind of help you learn how to drink them. And I think insofar as that's the goal here, it's doing well, or learn how to like notice flavors. And they're doing pretty well with this. Would you say they're all single malts, or did they pick bourbon or rye? Okay, so the last one, D, I think might be. D is the one that I'm a little more questionable about in terms of the rye or the bourbon. I think these are all single malt. I think they're all malt whiskeys. I shouldn't say single malt. They're all malt whiskey. One of them, I think, has a slight peat note, which I thought was C, but with water, it all but disappeared. We're going to get into B and A here really quick, and then we'll say. No, it's all American craft whiskey, so it's either bourbons, ryes, or malts. And it's not clear to me when looking at the website, when you become a subscriber to this, if you can choose like if they do 4 releases each year of bourbon, 4 releases each year of malt, I mean, it's not clear to me whether or not that's the case. I will say that they do have a bottle shop thing on here, which we'll look at later after we taste these to see, because they claim that they sell the bottles for some of these on here. So we're going to check that out. Anyways, let's get on to B. So B with water. Again, closer to C, a little bit more new make. Vanilla, caramel, fresh, but slightly citric. This one seems to have changed quite a bit on the nose. Rich berries. Again, this is berries. These are wine cask finishes, I'm thinking. These are not sherry. Here we go. Okay, not a lot's changed on the palate. Again, very full flavor, mouth coating arrival. Slightly longer finish now. Dry, as I mentioned with the others, but this is, it's like oak and red fruit working really well together here. Slight new make note again, but as I mentioned earlier, the thing that I was a little bit expecting with this is that there'd be a bunch of new, it's like you go and do a not a vertical, you go and do a flight at some distillery and everything just tastes really young and sprightly. I will say none of this tastes as young as I think it is. And so far, I think they're all pretty distinct, which is interesting. Okay, we're going to go on to A. Okay, so once again, this is the one that I get the most of the kind of new make fresh spirit note. Slightly vegetal, slightly mineral, subtler fruit notes, yellow fruits, a little bit of tropical fruit. I think these are all malt whiskeys. This is all barley. I don't detect any bourbon character in this. So this is the one that I liked the least before. It's still kind of the one I'm liking the least now. Hey, that new make note is there, but man, apple cinnamon. A little bit of clove, allspice. It's more baking spice in this. A little bit of fruit notes on the back end. This finish is really extended. Wow. Okay. Okay. Hey, it's not bad. Okay, so once again, I'm going to get into kind of my final thoughts here in a second, but I do just want to say one more time, I mean, thank you to Blind Barrels for sharing this, and it's cool to be able to share this with y'all. Again, each one of these bottles, unmarked, they don't tell you what it is. They're all, what did I say they were? 50 mil. So, I mean, I only did half of these, so you get to go back to them and kind of taste them again. The tasting table chart they give you, I think, is really nice. I didn't quite need it as much as maybe somebody who's just getting into whiskey would, but I think it's a nice resource. Okay, so here's the deal. We're going to get into the reveal in a second, but I do want to share just like my final thoughts here. So Blind Barrels, again, they're sharing American whiskeys. The idea here is it's a subscription service, kind of like a hot sauce or anything else you get on a quarterly basis. You can subscribe for a year, and it looks like right now it's for Black Friday prices for $200. Otherwise, it's $279, so not cheap. And then you can do quarterly for $70, or else right now it's $60 for quarterly. So you get 4 a year, 4 samples, 50 ml bottles. It's not clear to me if you get to, let me try clicking the subscribe button once just to see if they give you the option of like what type of whiskeys you can choose. It doesn't say, so maybe they just flip it up. This would be something that, it would be cool if they were a little more clear about. Do you want malt whiskey? Do you want bourbon? It doesn't seem clear to me on that. It looks like they also have something called master class on here. I know they got some guys that tell you about intro to whiskey. So there's some courses you can take. They look like they're short videos for free. So kind of cool. So, okay, so here we go. Final thoughts here. I mean, this seems like something that's very much geared towards folks who are really interested in getting into learning how to taste whiskey. I think, as you know, and as all of you probably agree, we're all for people learning how to enjoy whiskey the proper-ish way you can, right? Proper-ish, that's a new word. We want everybody to not go to the store and buy a bottle of Fireball, but hey, there's really good stuff on the shelf here that you can enjoy. And, for me, when I think back to my beginning of my whiskey journey, would I have benefited from something like this? Or would I have been excited about it if I'd gotten it as a gift or something? Honestly, yeah. I think it would have been a cool thing to do. I think they're hitting all the marks for somebody, for a gift that would be great for somebody in your life that maybe is interested in learning how to taste whiskey, but doesn't quite know how. I mean, they give you all the resources here. Again, these are all very cask forward. So you're not being too distracted by a younger spirit. I think they're really giving you a good panoply of flavor with the 4 they did here. So I think they did they're doing a pretty nice job on what they're trying to accomplish. I don't think, however, that this is something that, a whiskey intermediate level, somebody who's been drinking and tasting whiskey for a while necessarily needs. Other than this giving you kind of a baseline tune-up, I really don't see that this is worth you buying if you've been drinking single malts or bourbons for a couple of years and you kind of know what you like and what you're looking for in a whiskey. This is definitely something that's more for somebody who is wants to know what all the fuss is about. So their asking price, which again is, as I mentioned, they have this quarterly subscription, which recurring charges are every 3 months. You get 4 a year, and right now $59.99. And then you can buy it for the whole year, and you get a little bit more of a discount. And right now it's at $200, regular price $279. Do I think this is worth that price? If you have I think this quarterly deal that they got going right now, I think maybe 1 or 2 sample sets of this might be really good for somebody. I don't know if you need to have 4 of them coming your way necessarily. I don't think, personally, that an entire year's worth of 4 samples sent 4 times, if you're experiencing whiskey the way that I did and probably a lot of you did, your interest is pretty high and your excitement's pretty high. You're going to grow your palate quick. You're going to get one of these in the mail. You're going to try 1 or 2. And you're going to kind of go off and look for those whiskeys that match the profile you liked, right? I don't necessarily see a scenario where somebody needs to have this coming at them for 2 years. I'm just going to say, or even a year, maybe for a noob, but definitely not something that you're into long term. It's a good launch pad, though. I think it's a good launch pad. So, insofar as, unless they start putting out more fancy samples that you get in some of this, I think a year, maybe last couple boxes of this might be good to send somebody to start off with. So with that in mind, it's that time of the year. Is this something that I think if you're looking to get a gift for somebody who's whiskey curious, would this be a cool thing? Yeah, I think look at their quarterly delivery thing. I wouldn't necessarily invest in the entire full year's worth, but yeah, I think that they are doing a really good job of presenting you with different whiskeys, learning different flavors. And I think their quarterly thing gives you the opportunity to maybe buy a year, buy 6 months worth or something like that for somebody and let them go on their journey and see if they like it. So yeah, those are my final thoughts. Cool idea. I think they're doing it really well. I'm actually surprised. I thought this wasn't going to be quite the quality level. And yeah, I think it'd make a cool gift. Again, the quarterly delivery, not necessarily the annual. For that person in your life that maybe you're trying to get into whiskey or is curious about it but doesn't know where to start. So I think it's good for that. Okay. That said, it is time for the big reveal. The QR code here on the bottom of the tasting table is going to reveal to us what these whiskeys are that I was just drinking. Let's check it out. Scan the QR code now. And again, before I look, my favorites were in the order of D, C, B, A. So my favorites were the exact in the opposite of how I tasted them. And they give you welcome to the tasting experience. Click here to reveal. They give you these little things to click on. I don't know if you can see this. So here we go. Pretty cool. Oh, and there's even a video here of the September tasting, so you can kind of check out apparently what they did with it. It's about an hour long, so pretty cool. Okay, so sample A, which is my least favorite, Westward Distillery American Single Malt Pinot Noir. Okay, that's surprising. I did not catch that. Young whiskey, definitely. So we were right on that. Drywood, and then it gives you a take. They tell you their take. As you drink this, there's a category being created in the United States, and it talks a little bit about their distillery. So they do give you a good reference point. They talk about the whiskey. Okay, cool. So that was my least favorite. I did not expect that to be the case. Sample B, which was my third place, is Bad Dog Distillery, 3 years old, 50% ABV, so a little bit higher. 82% corn, 18% malted barley. This is a bourbon, so I was wrong about B. A, let me just actually make sure I was correct on that. Yeah, A was a single malt, so I was at least correct on that. Yeah, this one was interesting. It looks like the notes were pretty correct. However, I did not think it was a bourbon. In hindsight, it makes sense. Okay, so C was my second favorite. This was, so this is the one that had the spice. Refined Distillery Rye Whiskey Batch number 12. So this is the one that I thought had a lot of the heavy fruit flavors. It is a 36-month aged. So again, these are all very young, which we expected. The mash bill is rye, wheat, barley. 46.5% ABV. This is all kind of making sense. Honey, licorice, brown sugar, bright herbs, spice, tropical fruit. So we nailed that tropical fruit. They even include Midsummer Yankee Candle as a note on here. That's pretty funny. So these are from Paso Robles, California. Okay, so interesting. I was wrong about the rye on that one. But I do recall there being a spice. So the one of my favorite was the D. Again, I said this was a bourbon cask. I said this was a higher ABV. And here it is. The answer is no, I got to bring it up here. Oops. So this is the one I said was probably oldest. It was probably the single malt and bourbon cask. Okay, here we are. Tamar, Tamar Distillery, Mendocino Spirits, Captain Fleischer's Private Reserve Rye Malt. 8 years old. Okay, so it is the oldest. 100% malted rye. Didn't catch that. Malted rye, though. That's the thing. 47.3%. So we were a little bit high. Butter, toffee, butter chocolate. Really, really nice tasting notes. This is from California. They do a great job giving you a lot of tasting notes here. Finished, rounded, rich, subtle fruit leather, hints of oak and caramel. Yeah. And the dry dark chocolate at the end. Okay. So we were in pretty right range on the tasting notes. Just didn't quite catch that it was a malted rye. It does give you the option to buy these bottles right on here. And when I do it, it takes them to their website. Yeah, and it has them, of course, at a really good deal. Slashed price for Black Friday. So, yeah, pretty cool. Again, I want to thank the folks at Blind Barrels for sending this to me. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. And again, as I mentioned in my final thoughts, I think these are This is a really cool way for beginners to learn how to taste whiskey. I clearly didn't pick up on everything, but learned about a few new distilleries, so there's some value there for me. But yeah, I think the quarterly subscription service that they're offering, if you're looking for something for the holidays, go check it out. I will drop their link one more time in the chat if you are looking to get something for the whiskey noob in your life. Okay. And that takes us right up to the top of the hour. So what's up, y'all? Thanks for hanging out and checking this out with me, man. This was a really fun experience. I am moving on into another whiskey here that is going to be completely different than this one. But first, let me catch up on the chat. Donner Pass is in the house. What's up, buddy? Man, it's great to see you. There's Mike B. Curious who this is for. Not experienced palates. Perhaps people just getting into whiskey, but yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that the quality of the whiskey that they're presenting here is, as I mentioned, like for the quarterly, which you can kind of renew on a regular basis. I think one or two of these might be sufficient for somebody just getting into it. Maybe there's a way, I don't know. I see what they're trying to do here is give you a very wide range of whiskeys that have pretty strong influences of the barrel and an assorted variety of taste, right? The quarterly subscription thing that they have might be really good for a gift. I don't know about the annual. And as for somebody like you, Mike, probably not. I reviewed it. That's a long title. Yeah. Hey, Gary. How's it going, buddy? How are things out in San Francisco? I have not. Alpha Crown, how you doing? What's going on in Vancouver? Nice to see you, man. Yeah. Okay. So that was fun. I do have a little bit of a Brook Lottie here that I'm taming my palate with because we're about to get into the second half of this show. All right. Let me go get some water. Then we're going to talk Ardbeg Hypernova. If you've had it, let me know in the chat. Be right back. All right, friends. How we doing? We're going to get into hour number 2 right now, and hour number 2 is about this. Ardbeg Hypernova. I'm going to get this in the glass. We're going to talk about it. Let me just catch up here on the old chat. Mike B is out. Good to take care, man. Great to see you, Mike. As always, hope you had a nice holiday. Gary, debating getting a second bottle of Port Charlotte SEO. You liked it that much? Yeah, I feel you, dude. It's a great bottle. Look, that cask exploration series from them is, I don't know that they've had a miss. I did not have the OLC, so I can't really speak to that. But the MRCO1, the MCO1, this SCO1, they're all really good. Look, Bruichladdich is just at the top of their game, and it's presented with quality. I'm glad you liked it, man. They're good and interesting. It's a lovely distillery. Maybe I have to drive from Mass. Oh, I'm talking to Greg. Okay. Yes, the Sauternes, 135 US. Okay. Mark Lambert. How you doing, Mark? How's it going, man? Recent subscriber from New York City, Brazil, and first time live. Really enjoying the exploration. Well, I'm glad to hear that, man. Would love to find a service for non-noobs that's high quality drams. Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you're not just like a Scotch person and open to bourbon or rye or whatever, and you want to taste some of the stuff that's happening around the U.S., again, check out blindbarrels.com. I mean, I'll admit as you saw in my review, I thought it was a pretty cool way to learn how to taste whiskey. They definitely give you all the tools you need to really dive in and see if it's something you like and learn how to pick out other pick out flavors and different things. It was a good variety of bottles. So yeah, all in all, man, that might be something you might want to look at. So glad you enjoyed it. And thank you for subscribing and hanging out, man. I hope you're having a nice holiday weekend so far. Recently opened PC Isla Barley. I have not had that one. I'd like to be honest with you. I've been really wanting to just pick it up. It seems Sauternes works well with PCs. Yeah, I love Port Charlotte. That's what I hear. And have Port Charlotte with Sauternes, probably pull the trigger. Yeah. Look, man, my favorite one of those has been honestly, my favorite Port Charlotte ever has been that MCO1, which you can still find overseas. That's the Marsala cask. It's a 9-year with Marsala cask. Just freaking amazing stuff. I'm so deep into Scotch. Been a drummer for a while, but got a hump kits from New York City to my new home in Brasilia, and not traveling as much. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I'd love to hear what kind of scotches you're into for sure. Speaking of, here we go, gentlemen and ladies, and everything in between. Ardbeg Hypernova. So what is the deal with the Hypernova? Hypernova, if you've been following Ardbeg for a while, they've been, doing these supernova releases, which are high ppm peat, which is the amount of phenols, ppm, parts per million of phenols, which is how they measure peat, in the barley prior to distillation. It does go down during distillation. So what that number means is not necessarily what you taste, and it's debatable whether or not you can taste much past a certain number. Anyways, that all said, Ardbeg has released their peatiest whiskey ever at 170 ppm, and that is this Hypernova. This is bottled at 51% ABV. It is part of their committee release of this year. There is no age statement. It is, it doesn't even say anything about non-chill filtration or whatever. Ardbeg does not usually non-chill filter, or usually chill filter, so I think we're all good on that. It doesn't say anything about color. I don't think, they don't really color either, but it would be nice if they said this stuff. But one look at the actual whiskey, you can tell that this has no fake color in it. Look at that. That's an Ardbeg. You ever had Ardbeg 10 in your life? You know. That's an Ardbeg. Okay. I have not had that one either. That was the other one, the CC. Ardbeg Hypernova, yeah. It is, I mean, it is, right? Because of the amount of people that you get in front. Like, again, I've said this before. I think a Lefroy 10 cat strength is peatier and smokier than a lot of the Octomores I've had. But again, it's, it is what it is. I like Octomore a lot. I can smell this from here. I am not kidding. I'm not trying to overhype this. This is the Hypernova. So these are retailing right now in the US at prices that are just freaking all over the place. My guess is that if you find it sitting on a shelf in a store, it's going to be in the $220 to $230 range. Secondary markets close to $300. You might find it under $200, but in a month these will be gone from every shelf. And that's just the way it is with Ardbeg, for better or for worse. That all said, the Supernovas, I believe, were all ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. This one, I mean, who knows? It doesn't say. You always got to look it up. I wish Ardbeg, for a lot of what Ardbeg does right, there are some things they don't do right, and that is, they could disclose a little bit more. But here it is. I'll tell you if I think it's sherry or bourbon. I really don't know. Here we go. Look. Okay, right off the bat, this is intense smoke. I'm not even this is as far as it is from my nose, and it is freaking intense. Tropical fruit, road tar. Slightly spirity. This is smelling a little younger than the Supernovas. But it is what you think. Putting my nose in further here, sweet, a little bit of that pear, slightly tropical fruit, definitely resinous. It's sweet and smoky. So sweet, savory. You're getting some of those sea elements, classic Ardbeg. Wow, that is. So I'm going to give you guys, since you got 14 folks in, a little bit of a preview. As you saw on my last live stream a couple weeks ago, wrapping things up for the year. Couple miscellaneous live streams likely to occur. I will be dropping a review of my favorite whiskeys of the year, but for the most part, I'm done for this year. Next year, I'm not going to be following the standard rigid schedule I used to. The Tasty Tuesday live streams are likely over. I'm going to be doing kind of more random live streams like this so I can present the opportunity to hang out with a more variety of folks who are available at different times. And reviews are going to kind of come in a little bit more of a random format when I've had the time to spend as much time as I think is necessary with a whiskey. One of the first reviews that you're going to see in January is going to be a comparison of this Hypernova to what I think is the most intense Ardbeg I've ever had to date before this, which is the Ardbeg Corey Bracket. And we're gonna do a little head-to-head. We're going to talk about which one of these, if any, are worth your money. So, little preview for folks. Keep your eyes peeled for that in January 2023. But as it stands, this is, yes, the most intense Ardbeg I've ever smelled. This is one of the most intense whiskeys I've ever smelled. It's young, but I guess I expect that. It's the most peated whiskey ever. Most of the Octomores are 5 years old, 3 years old. Why would this be 10 years old? Here we go. Ardbeg Hypernova, tropical fruit, sweetness, slight tar, slight ash, tons of smoke, a bit of that seaside quality that we expect from the King of Islay. Here we go. Oh my God. Just wow. Okay. Okay. Look, this is intense. This is smoky. This is a freaking palate attack in a way that, again, I think that only Corey Vrecken has ever come close to for me with Ardbeg, and that includes Supernova. The nose implies a level of youth that could be a little bit concerning to some of us, including me, but the palate mostly reconciles it. This is strikingly bourbon cask tasting, to my opinion. Heavy coal ash smoke, seaside beach bonfire smoke, billowing intensity, incredibly intense. Even for the most hardened Octomore drinkers, I think this is going to be a punch to the system for sure. There's hints of tropical fruit. It usually implies a little bit of age, but I don't think there's much age here. I think this is a young whiskey, but the bourbon cask is doing its job to round off those edges. You're getting a little bit of toffee, vanilla, caramel. This is like a Ardbeg 10 on steroids, and then the steroids took steroids. That's what this is like. That's what this tastes like for me. Wow. Just wow. I'm going to go in for a second sip here. Again, that color. It looks like a 10. Here we go. Jesus. Man. It's a monster. Fucking monster. Wow. This is, look, if you're one of these people that just loves the peatiest, most intense, bitter beer face looking whiskeys you can get, this is the whiskey for you. I'm getting some nice back end, long finish of ash, roasted coffee bean, dark chocolate, hints of tropical fruit, swelling, dry chocolate notes going on all the way through the finish here. Don't go kissing your significant other after they drink this. This is like eating onions on a first date. You just don't do it. I don't want to overhype this, but I'm going to just say right now, I mean, I think if you are into the most intense, heavy, peaty, you just crave that intensity experience. Hypernova at who knows what price, upwards of $250. Look, it's an Ardbeg, and you're going to pay for an Ardbeg. That's the way it goes. Is this a cheap, crappy Ardbeg that, like some of their other mediocre releases over the last couple of years, is just looking to steal your money? No, it's not. It's pretty damn good. It doesn't have the sherry. It's not the most complex thing, but this is a pretty damn good whiskey. And it's doing exactly what you would expect it to do. And you wouldn't, if it had Octomore written on the label and a 5-year age statement, you wouldn't necessarily balk at the price. That said, it is very expensive. I don't think it's better than what I think are Ardbeg's two best whiskeys, which is the Ugadal and the 10. I still prefer those price to experience ratio factor. But this whiskey does what it's supposed to do. While it doesn't have the necessarily heavy richness of the sherry notes that I think some of the Supernovas have, look, this is no slouch. This is what you want. When it says it's the peatiest whiskey ever from Ardbeg, that's what this is. And it tastes like an Ardbeg. And it's got just enough working for it to make it justify what is a very expensive price. It costs more money to make heavily peated whiskey, so on and so forth. This all said, is this my favorite Ardbeg? No. Is this a whiskey that I'm going to buy again? No. And that's because this isn't really my wheelhouse. I like a heavily peated whiskey, but I usually like a little bit of sherry in it, or I like a little bit more happening. While I'm impressed that this has the complexity that it does, it doesn't justify the price for me. For you peat heads, for you incredible, you thrill-seeking peat heads out there, yeah, Hypernova. So prelim score on this, I'm going to give this a 3.75 out of 5. It approaches that 4 if it was just a little cheaper. But I like Ardbeg. Some people, Ardbeg is divisive. A lot of their releases over the last couple of years have been. I'm fine with gimmicky if it's good, but I'm not fine with gimmicky if it's mediocre. And unfortunately, mediocrity has been more of a norm than I ever would have expected from the king of Islay. Hypernova is a step in the right direction. Cool whiskey, fun whiskey. But what I'm going to do in the beginning of 2022, and I think I was right to kind of think this out beforehand. In my opinion, the most intense whiskey Ardbeg makes is the Ardbeg Corryvreckan. And I love the Corryvreckan. It also has French Limousin wine casks in it. So Corryvreckan's around $100. This one's around $200. Let's do a little head-to-head. So we'll check it out. But yeah, I'm in. I'm. There's always a stigma being a little bit afraid about Ardbeg because of, again, the hardcore was a big disappointment. The drum was a disappointment. They've been putting out a lot of disappointing whiskeys. This isn't a disappointing whiskey. This is a fun whiskey. And look, some people, my gripe with Ardbeg is not their marketing. Their marketing is kind of gimmicky, kind of goofy. But you know what? Why has everything got to be so serious? I'm fine with it. The problem is that the whiskey doesn't deliver on what they're trying to say in many cases. Committee releases are fine, but they're overpriced. Limited releases of their annual stuff is almost not worth buying. The black had no finish. The limited release had no finish. The drum was awful. Awful. It was bad. It was not good. The Scorch committee release, fine. Not worth the price. The limited release, definitely not worth even $300 or $30 less. It just crap. It's just, look, there's a cult around Ardbeg. It raises the prices. That sucks. But I'm not going to just hate on Ardbeg just because it's like, oh, they're goofy. Like, I'm a little bit into like their marketing. I think their marketing is kind of fun, and whiskey should be fun. So I'll give them credit for that. But the whiskey has to match it. Oftentimes it doesn't. The Hypernova does. 3.75 out of 5 is my prelim score. One of the first reviews I will do in 2023 will be a Hypernova Corryvreckan clash, and we can discuss whether or not the intensity you get from this is worth the double the price of the Corryvreckan. But Hypernova is good. If you want a huge peaty slap in the face, just the most intense whiskey, Octomore levels from Ardbeg, but has them that Ardbeg character, this is where it's at. It's fucking, man. The nose thing makes you think it's going to be younger than it tastes, which is great. But I'm sure this is not older than 6 years, 7 years. What a freaking huge whiskey. I mean, like literally even now, like it's been sitting here for 15 minutes. I put my nose in and it's intense. I don't regret buying this. God damn, that's intense. So, last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on the like most peaty intense whiskey scale of whiskeys that I've had. Octomore 10.1, I think, was probably the most intense. Followed by this, followed by Lafroig 10 cast strength, whatever year you want to put it. Corey Vrecken is right close to it. This is badass whiskey, man. Gary, what can I say? It is what it is, you know. I wanted to. I'll be honest. I wanted to kind of hate this, you know. I wanted this to like fall in line with the inevitable decline that we've all been seeing in Ardbeg. It just doesn't. I can't lie about it, you know. It just doesn't. It's exactly what you think it is. Not the best, but enjoyed the part of the events your whiskey friend that seemed to regenerate. What's up, whiskey friend? Alan, how you doing? I'm in whiskey base and see insane prices for Hypernova, so def not for me. In fact, bought any for ages. What's the ppm on Scotch? That really depends. So the ppm means parts per million, which is a scientific term. And usually it's only done to measure peat. And the way they measure it is the amount of peat influence on the germinating barley prior to distillation. So the Ardbeg Hypernova here is 170 ppm, 170 parts per million of peat influence. But once you start distilling it, that all compounds break down, right? So you're not actually drinking 170 parts per million, but they advertise that way. Same with Octomore. Same with a lot of these that talk about ppms. There are some who would argue you really can't, as a human being, taste buds can't really taste past 40 ppm anyways. So the peat is different from the smoke. You can have a peaty whiskey with no smoke or with low smoke. That's possible. This whiskey is smokier than peaty on the delivery. It is one of the smokiest whiskeys I've ever had, and I'm telling you right now, it lives up to that advertising. This shit is smoky as hell, and I think this is the only whiskey on the peat scale that's going to be able to compete with it in terms of intensity, just raw, intense whiskey. I think that Corey Vrecken is the only one that's going to be able to play ball with this. Opened a committee release score assessment, pleasant if a bit over. Yeah. I mean, right, not bad at all. Sell some samples. Text me at malt or email me at malt.muser@gmail. Octomore has earned a rep over time, even if now overhyped. Yeah, that's a totally fair point. I agree. Corey remains the best, most consistent expression on it. I don't know about consistency. Ugadal was always my favorite, but Corey Brecken's, it's like 1A. Ardbeg's core range is always good, and as long as that stays intact, I'm on board with Ardbeg. I love their 10. This Corey Vrecken that I have here, which I'm going to do as a comparison to with the Hypernova. Let me just take a look. This one, Corey Vrecken, baby. It's been a minute. This one is, let me just check the old, I got to do a flashlight because I can't read this. This is a 2020 bottling. So, not exactly new. We'll get into that. No, Eric. Just trying to know that's our bro. You'll see a high peak crusher. If you can hook me up, man. Phenols per million. Yeah, anyways, look, I mean, I think all in all, if you're an Ardbeg fan or a big Heavy Pete fan, Hypernova. It's a good one. I don't know that well, I guess I would say I don't know that it's like the best. The best Ardbeg, right? I mean, I'm not saying that, but I do think this is the most intense Ardbeg. Okay, y'all. So I gave you the sneaky heads up about what's coming in 2023 as of today. Keep an eye out in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, for a full review of my favorite whiskeys 2022. That will be coming your way. Hypernova will not be included in that because this is not a full review. This is just a taste. I got some fun whiskeys coming up in the next couple months, including Bunnahabhain Cask Strength Batch number 2 Gold Spot. I mean, freaking Gold Spot, right? That's coming. We got a couple others coming your way. So it's going to be relatively low key until 2023, but I got some good stuff coming. So keep your subscription bell notice on. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love to have you on, and make sure you smash that like on the way out. I hope everybody has a great, blessed rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. And to our friends overseas, enjoy the rest of your regular weekend. Much love to you all, and I will see you again. I'll have one more live stream probably still this year here on the channel. Stay safe, be well. Salon, y'all.